Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. We really love all the donations that people have been providing. And if you can't donate to today's class, we're glad that you're here. We want to support you as best that we can with these classes. So today's class will be based in strengthening your hips and creating some more flexibility within the hips. We'll be starting on the floor. A strap is always good in case you need that in terms of stretching out your legs. If you don't have a strap, you can use a towel or an old t-shirt works really well. The denser the material, the better it is to stretch out the leg and the hip. Some class announcements for next week. We have a class on Wednesday and Friday, and that's moving in time. So we're going to move the class to 11 to 12. Wednesday's class is a level 1 class. Friday's class is a level 2 class. Saturday's classes will stay the same. We'll keep it at 9 to 10. I have a new class on Zoom, and that's from 10 to 11. And then that class, you would register on my website. It's jonwittyoga.com. And you can see the information about what we're doing with the masks project. We're donating masks to both East and West Coast. And you could purchase a mask as well if you're interested in having a high quality mask. They're very good, very comfortable, and I prefer it more than the surgical masks. It's just a lot more comfortable for me. And if you did not know, all these classes are on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe and like, share it with your friends, your family if you're benefiting from the class, because I really... that's why I teach yoga, is really to help as many people as I can. So in starting, we're going to lie down on your side. So you can come down onto your side, and when you lie down on your side, you're basically, it doesn't matter which side you're on. I'm going to be on my right side, and when I'm lying on my right side, I'm supporting my head with a block or with my arm, and then in being on my side, I'm going to pull my right leg into my chest, and then in pulling the leg into the chest, I'm going to make a circular motion. Now if you have something pre-existing in the hip, just find a static hold as opposed to a circular motion, and then I'm going to bring the leg forward and I'm going to pull it into the chest. And when I'm pulling in the chest, if it's just tightness, you can definitely work through that. If it's something else, again, you may not want to work a full range of motion just yet, but bring the knee into the chest, the abdomen. So this is really strengthening your hip. How much you can bring your leg into your chest here is really how much you can bring your leg in when you're forward bending. That factors in a lot. Circle it out all the way up, big circle, and then bring the left leg forward and down. And you're going to bring the left foot down in front of the right leg, opposite if you're on the opposite side. So I'm pointing through my right foot, and I'm taking my right leg up off the floor. If you're not doing, and then bring it down, hold it at the top for a couple seconds. Doesn't have to be a really long hold, and then you could bring it down. So if you're not using side planks, I would do these at least a few times a week if I'm not working on strengthening my adductors. Bring it up, bring it down, bring it up again, hold at the top, see if you can kind of lift it a little bit more, and then bring it down, and then one last time bring it up, and then bring it down. Just so that you can see me better, I'm going to switch over to the other side. You could roll onto your left side or your right, depending on which side you started on, and then I'm supporting the head with my arm, and you could be in front of me if you want. So when I have my right leg, I'm going to pull my right leg into my chest. So I'm bringing it in. And then as I bring it in, I'm going to make a big circular motion with my right leg. I'm going to pull it in. And then I'm going to bring it out. Like I said, you could hold a static position as opposed to doing a circular motion. So I'm pulling the knee into the chest. I'm bringing it out. Bringing it forward where it's straight, and then bringing it in. Really, really good for your knees, because it's going to strengthen all the connective tissues around the knee as you move the leg through space. So it's kind of like, if you were kicking your leg, whether it be soccer or martial arts, very good for the knee. And then bring the right leg down where the right foot's out in front of the left leg, And then when you're doing this is you're taking your left leg up off the floor. So I'm taking my left leg up and then I'm bringing it down. I'm taking it up, I'm squeezing in, and then I'm bringing it down. And then taking it up, and then bringing it down, and then taking it up and holding at the top. And you'll probably, these are things that I use throughout the week. It helps better stability and movement. And then you can bring the left leg down. Now roll onto your back, and then when you roll onto your back, you're gonna have your knees bent, and then have the hands over the elbows and lift the hips up off the floor. It doesn't have to be really high, but you're up in a bridge. So now you're strengthening the glutes. So if you were, before you went walking, this is a short sequence of exercises that you could use before you walked or before you were weight training or yoga. If you can, take the right leg on top of the left leg. So now you're rotating out. You might not be able to do that. Bring the right leg down and then take the left leg. Could be the chest, right? Or stepping the shin over the knee, over the thigh, and then you'll focus more on the external rotation of the left hip. And then bring the left foot down, push to the heels of the feet, and try to lift through the lower back. And then as you lift through the lower back, thank you, Noah, you're using the strength of your hips, your hamstrings, and then bring yourself back down and just take a couple deep breaths. I'm bringing my feet together now and my knees are wide, and I'm gonna push into my hands, or push my hands into my thighs. So if I'm pushing into the tops of the thighs, it's really good for rotation of the thigh bones, but it's gonna help you in your lower back. If I'm pushing into the inner thighs, also very valuable. It's just, it'll be a different sensation. And then you could bring this down. Now just lift the knees a little bit higher than you have them. And this is another way of strengthening the inner thigh. So it's not like, they're just different. One might be better than the other. You could bring the knees down and then just take it up. And I say this in my classes, it's the inner thigh that's really weak. And that's partially why people are tight in their hips. And then you could bring it down. Now we're gonna bring the hands together, and you're gonna come up with your head and your shoulders into a low kind of hollowed position. So you don't have to be this strong in your standing positions, but there should be some influence of abdominal work, and that's, yoga, we call that bandha. You're pulling up and you're breathing, and then as you try to lift up a little bit more. Now if you can't come up, it could be a combination of strength, it could be a combination or just lack of flexibility. Bring yourself back down, have your hands over your elbows again, bring your feet down. You should feel like a rush of blood after you come out of that. Lift the hips up off the floor, ground down through the shoulders, and just kind of feel what is happening within the feet. So you might be using one foot more than the other, one knee be falling in, and that's not necessarily bad, but you want to see these things so that you can self-correct yourself and making better practice. A lot of it is awareness. As you build your awareness, you can build a better practice, whatever the form of training it may be. And then bring your hips down, and then when you bring your hips down, we're going to roll to the side, and you can bring yourself back up. When you come up, come into an all-four position. So have your hands just underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, and then just push through the hands and round through the spine, round through the back, and then look forward, look up. You can back bend, you can exhale, you can round the spine, round your back. We'll back bend, we'll lift the chin, we'll lift the chest, and we'll exhale. We'll finish in a rounded position. So just take the hands to the left side and look high over the left shoulder. Could be many angles. I'm just, over to the left, could be more forward, just as an example. So lifting the head, and then take the hands over to the right side, just so that I don't run into my wall. I'm changing. So lift your head, lift your chest, bring your ribs in a little bit, and then bring it back to center. And then just take the hands to turn out and move the weight around. And when you're on your hands, whether it's plank, down dog, up dog, handstanding, Note that the hands could always turn out if you didn't know that. With the hands out, it's less pressure in the wrist. And as your hands develop, and they will, then you can have the hands more forward. That's not a critical thing. So come back into the middle and just have the hands underneath the shoulders. And rather than just some cat-cows, just round through the upper back. And then let the chest depress down. And then just round through the upper back. Push through the hands. Get familiar with pushing, because that'll help you in plank. We're going to lift up into a plank pose. So when I'm pushing through the hands and I'm rounding or hollowing through the front of my body, I'm going to get some better support, not just using my hands or my arms. And then come down with the knees and then sit back into a child's pose. Now when you sit back, the arms could be overhead, arms could be beside the knees. You don't have to go as far back. And for those of you that have, you don't have as much flexion in the knee, you could keep your hips over your knees and have the arms forward or the arms bent. Both really, really good options, you know. You're getting more stretch or space in the upper body when I'm not back, and I'm getting more influence into the lower body when I sit back more here. And then come back up into a plank again, and in a plank, push through the hands, hollow through the front of the body, and pull back through the hips. And you could pedal it out, right? I'm widening through my inner thighs, trying to widen through my lower back, and connect into fingertips. So get a better connection into your hands, and then you can use your hands, your arms more to help you in pulling back through the hips. Walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat and walk the hands back towards the feet, and just take the hands over to the left side. So change the angle. Take the hands to the right side, changing the angle, taking the hands back in the middle. Now rest the abdomen on the thighs if you can, and take the hands forward. So when the knees are bent, the legs are active, right? There's more energy to them. You're using them more. If you're in a straight leg position, fantastic. Not everybody can do that, but I like bent knees because then eventually you could do more squatting, right? You can be in a squat for these types of positions. And with repetitive yoga, whatever that may be, you may want to repeat poses that actually help you more rather than just doing a specific sequence, right? Fold forward into a forward fold. So I can't stress that enough for people. Some poses may not be really healthy for you initially. So roll yourself up to standing, and then as you roll up, you could bring the feet in a little bit closer. You could take the arms overhead, and I'm going to bend the knees a little bit, and I'm going to bring the weight back into the heels of my feet. So as I'm bringing the weight back, just in an upright position, I could be looking up to the hands, and then push through the feet, bring yourself back up, come up onto the toes, lift the heels off the floor. So it's good to come up and down, right? I do this more as a measure so that people really know where they are in space. Try to get level through the pelvis. So I'm a person that uses my lower back too much as I stand, so I'm really trying to lift more through my pubic bone. Then lower the heels and take your right foot up off the floor. So balance on your right foot, use a wall or a chair, and then open the arms laterally, and then you're twisting. So again, you're using, if I'm pulling the knee closer to my chest, this will help with strengthening your hip. You want to keep that for a good gait and walking. You can turn forward, you can bring your left foot down, and then take your right foot up off the floor as you take it up. You could use your hand, of course, right? And then twist to the right. And then as you're twisting to the right, try to get a better lift through the upper body from the use of your left foot. And then turn forward, and you can bring your right foot down. We're going to take the stance out wide. So with my feet out wide, I'm going to turn my right foot up to the right. I'm going to take the arms out wide. I'm going to sit into a warrior two. And with the beginning of the class, the circles, right? The circular motion of the femur is to help in widening out this type of stance. So some people, they for a couple of reasons, they can't sit lower, but as you get stronger in your hips, you'll be able to sit lower. You could bring the forearm on the thigh, you could reach for the floor, you could take the left arm forward overhead. With a static position, and I said this I say this often in classes, you may not want to have your arms statically. You may actually want to be moving it to help in getting it stronger, to help in mobilizing it. Bring yourself back up into a warrior two. Lift the thighs up and out. Get stronger in your lift, and then have the right leg straight. Turn the right foot in. Turn the left foot to the left. Take the arms out wide, and then bend the left knee. And then as you bend the left knee, think that your legs are touching your hands. So lift out. If you're not using the strength of your legs, it's still very good. It's just way better as you integrate. So that, as I'm up in this position, I want to get level through the pelvis. So for me, as I lift my pubic bone, then I start to use more of my abdomen. Bring your left forearm on your thigh, reach for a block, reach for the floor. You could take the arm forward in space, overhead. Like I said, when I'm warming up, it's rare that I'm in a fixed position. For me, moving helps me more. It's just classic approach in yoga is a static position, which works really, really well if you're ready for that, right? And then bring yourself back up into a warrior two. So drop through the tail, lift through the pubic bone, and then bring yourself back up. Turn the left foot in, and we're gonna come forward, we're gonna do a little bit of twisting. So come forward into a forward fold, take the hands down, stay here, or walk the hands over to the left ankle. Grab the left ankle with the right hand, and take the left arm up to the ceiling. So exert more effort if you need it. If you don't need it, wait, and you'll see that you'll be able to go further, and then you can, not that further's, the be all, right? Bring the left hand down, walk the hands over to the right leg, take the right arm up to the ceiling, the left hand is high. I could either be going to the foot, or I could be going away from it. Both are good. And then bring the hands down, and with the hands down, take the feet out wider if you can. So wider stance, lift the thighs up and out, get the legs to move further apart, and you'll start to see how you'll have more space in your stances for your poses, specifically for side angle. Will get wider, and you'll be able to get lower and touch the floor. So toe heel the feet in a little bit closer, and then bring your hands on your hips and bring yourself back up, and then you can step the feet back into a neutral position, just standing, right? Take the hands behind the head and just move the head back in space, and your elbows will measure to the ceiling, and as they measure to the ceiling, then you can kind of see if you're crooked, and then as the head moves back, you're trying to go more up in space. If I were to go further back, right, I'd want to use more of the strength in my front body. And then just come back to neutral. You can bring the arms down. So take the left leg up off the floor. So take the left leg up. Use your left hand if you need it. Take the left leg out to the left. Think that the knee is touching the left shoulder. Get it to lift up. Bring it forward in space. Use your hands or not. Bring the left foot down. Take the right leg up. So you take the right leg up. This side, I like to use my hand a bit because it's a little bit more difficult for me to take the leg apart, but I'm still, in the process, I'm still using as much strength in my lower body to get the leg up. Now you can take the right leg out to the right. Really, really good with a wall or a chair, facing the wall or back up against the wall. Bring it back into the middle. Think that the knee is touching the chest or the shoulder, and then bring the right foot down. We're going to come to the top of the mat, take the arms up overhead, and fold forward into a forward fold. Step the left foot back into a lunge, and then take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high and the left hand is low. Just to move you a little bit, this is why I'm doing it. Bring the right hand down, and then step the left foot forward. Again, know that you could always hold poses longer if that's what you need. Step the right foot back, and with the right foot back, take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high. All these closed hip positions, it's actually squeezing in to the middle, and that'll help twist you. Bring the left hand down and then step the right foot forward. So come down onto your hands and your knees again. And then as you're on your hands and your knees, push to the hands and pack the shoulder, right? So as I'm on all fours or elbows, all this stuff will make you stronger. But eventually getting into plank is what I'm working you up to. So lift the knees up off the floor, grip the floor, use your forearm strength. Right, go back up into a down dog. Pull way, way back through the thighs. Bend the knees if you need it, or if you prefer it. I love bending my legs so that I'm getting more emphasis on higher facets of the spine. And then come back into a plank, and then in plank, come down onto the elbows, the forearms for a plank on your forearms. So connect into the forearms, center of the forearm, reach back to the heels, and then bring yourself back down, and then come all the way down. And when you come down, take the arms into a cactus position. So as you take the arms here, you're gonna lift the arms up. So I'm making my hands into a fist, and I'm using the strength of my shoulders to get my arms further back, right? And then bringing the arms down. One more time, I'm gonna take the arms up. Broad shoulders, broad back. And then I'm gonna bring the arms down. Now come up into a Sphinx pose. And then in Sphinx, lift from the pubic bone, draw the sternum more forward towards what's in front of you. And just kind of see how the weight sits in the hips. Look over the left shoulder. Get a big lift in the head and the chest. Try to keep the shoulders even. Look over the right shoulder. As you look over the right shoulder, in keeping the shoulders even, it'll be more stress in the neck and in the spine. And then look center, and then you can bring yourself down. Have your hands underneath your shoulders. I always have a block close to me in case I need it. I'm gonna curl up into a low cobra, just a little bit, and I'm gonna come down. Right, now you can hold it statically, of course, right? Curl up into a low cobra, or higher, and bring yourself down. So just kind of see where you need to hold the pose, because all the way up or all the way down might not be the best angle. So curl up a little bit more, and say as you come up, if you do come up, this is why I said you might want to block. Putting the block just above my pubic bone, and it fits perfectly on this level for me. You might need it to be higher. You may not need it. You might be perfectly fine without it. But when I have support with the block, takes the pressure off my lower back, brings my tailbone down more. I can lift myself up. And then you're going to try this, if you're a person that's using the block, is lie back down onto the block. And this might not be a good fit, right? It might be too hard. It might not be a good shape. You don't want to be on bone, right? You want the block to fit into the soft tissues of the abdomen. And this might be too high, right? So you could use a towel or a pillow, a dense pillow. And then just rest the forehead down. Take 3 deep breaths. So just, the psoas has so much to do with how much you'll be able to extend. So this is a way of releasing it. And then I'm going to bring my hands underneath me. I'm going to come up into Sphinx just to take the block out. And I'm going to set myself up to do possibly a transition to plank. So bring the hands underneath the shoulders, engage in the shoulders, tuck the toes. Bring the ribs away from the floor, and then press yourself up and go back up into a down dog. And maybe you came up to all fours, right? That's a great way too. So just walk the hands back towards the feet. Just walking back. And then walk forward. And if you can't do this, be in the best position possible for yourself, right? That's the great thing about doing home practice. walk the hands back. There's no pressure. Practicing like this can be way healthier than going to a studio, because you don't feel obligated to doing something that's not actually healthy for yourself. Walk the hands to the middle of the mat and walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat. As you walk the feet forward, just a basic standing position, and then roll yourself up into a standing position. Take the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, come up on the toes with the heels off the floor, pressing the hands apart, and then lower the heels and exhale, lower the arms. And just bring the feet together like you have one big foot, and step the left foot in front of the right foot. And when the feet are in a straight line, if you can, close the eyes, just to play a little bit with your balance. And then you can open the eyes and bring the left foot next to the right and step the right foot forward. Again, have the feet crooked initially, and once you get better in balance, then have the feet more straight, and then you can close the eyes. Feel that it's the back leg that's really what's keeping you up. So it's a good way to get the weak leg stronger in any type of clothing, right? Because you might not always have the best clothing to practice. You can bring the right foot next to the left. Go back to having your right leg into your chest. So pull it up and in. I could bring it into the chest. I could take it out to the right. I'm trying to find the most efficient angle, the weakest angle, the tightest angle, and that's what I'm doing the majority of holding in that position. You could bring it forward, you could bring it down, you could take it up. So, all the way out could be the best angle. You could pull the knee in, you could take it, quarter of the way or 3/4 of the way. You could take it all the way out, drive through the right foot, bring it forward, pull it in more if you need it, and then bring the foot down. Now take the right foot into the inside of your left thigh. As you take it up, you can bring the hands together. It's just a basic prayer. You can take the arms overhead. So I'm rooting down through the tail, and as I'm rooting down through the tail, I'm lifting through the pubic. Arms could be in any position. Maybe wide, like a cross type of position is better for the shoulder. Overhead is also very good for the shoulder if you can take the arms all the way up. So bring the arms back down, bring the knee forward, bring the foot down, take the left leg up. As you take the left leg up, you can push evenly through the right foot. Take the arms up. Try to eliminate swaying the hips. Right? Keep the hips in the middle. Make the hips stronger. The pose will be stronger from this. Again, maybe the arms are wide. Really great in rotating the shoulders out. You can take the arms up. You can bring them down, and then bringing the left knee forward and down. Now take the feet out a little bit wider than, say, your shoulders, and turn your feet out. Make your hands into fists, bend the knees, and sit not incredibly low initially. Just sit a little bit higher than the knees. Good in strengthening the legs. I'm pushing the knees apart when I need it. You can check out your knees. One knee may fall in more than the other. I'm a right-handed person, so my left side is really where all the work is for me in something like this. You could certainly sit lower as you do this. You just don't want a lot of pressure in the top of the hip. If that's happening, I'd choose a squat rather than having my feet like this. So bring yourself back up. You could bring your arms down, and you can turn your feet in, and you can step your feet back together. So just take a couple deep breaths. Take the feet out a little bit wider than the shoulders. And with the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders, turn the right foot out. Take the arms wide. Reach to the right. Grab the right shin, top of the foot, block, right? You're in a triangle to the right. And then as you're off to the right, turn the upper body to the ceiling. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. Like I said, you could be moving the arm in space. So the reason I say that is that when I work with someone that really doesn't have the flexibility in the shoulder, just keeping it up isn't enough. So know that you could be moving your arm the whole time. You can be turning your upper body towards the left hand, And then you can bring yourself back up. Turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. As you take the left foot out, take the arms out, reach out to the left, grab the left shin. You're extending the upper body towards the right hand. You know, and you're turning your upper body towards the ceiling that's above you. So you could be looking down, you could be looking up. You know that getting lower has benefits. Being up higher, could be just as beneficial, possibly more for yourself. So static hold if that's really working for you. And then bring yourself back up and turn the left foot in, and you can step the feet back together. So I'm going to use the wall for a half moon. You could do it in the middle of the room. I'm using it more for a way of stretching you out more, giving you more space. You could also do a triangle again, right, if you didn't want to do that. So how I'm going to position myself is up against the wall is my foot's at the wall. And when my foot's at the wall, I'm going to have my block on the outside of my right foot. So you're going to be in a 90-degree angle, right foot to left to the wall. And then as you take it up in space, the left leg is up. Now, this might be way too much for you. That's why I had said the triangle is better. But as we get warmed up, maybe you can do this. So the right foot is down the floor. I'm pushing through my right hand. I'm turning my left foot out. So initially to start, my foot's turned down. Now my left foot's turned out. I'm going to take my left arm up to the ceiling, and I'm driving through the right foot. I'm trying to create more and more space between my shoulders, and I'm rooting through my right heel. So this is a really good way because you're more stable, but then you can use the wall to help create more space. And then you could bring the left hand down. You could switch the block over to the middle so you're more stable. And then you could bring the left foot down. Just hang in a forward bend. Grab the elbows. And of course, this bent knee position is always a good position if you're a person that can't fold forward. So if you're all the way forward and down, perfect. Move your toes apart with your thumbs. Right? Get your toes to be wider. It's always a good thing to do in terms of making the feet more pliable. Now use the block, come up into a halfway lift. Place the block on the outside of the left foot, so it's on a diagonal to the left foot. And then take the right foot up against the wall. And you may need to move close to the wall if you can't get the foot to the wall. Now you're turning my foot to you, to the right. And then I'm turning my upper body to the right. And then I'm taking my right arm up to the ceiling. So I'm pushing strong through the left foot. I'm reaching back through the right leg. I'm, getting my upper body to move to the ceiling. So, I did this on Wednesday, up against the wall, back up against the wall. So I love both of these variations. You're turning your upper body towards your right hand. As you're doing this, it's the outside of your right hip that's getting stronger, similar to the circles that we did with the legs. So bring the right hand down and step the right foot next to the left and be in a forward bend. Now separate the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders. Use an external weight or a heavy piece of furniture and see if you can, squat down. And if you can't squat all the way down, again, if it's just flexibility that's stopping you from doing it, it'll come. It's just if something really hurts, back off. Let's adapt it in some way so that it's better for you. But eventually everybody can squat for the most part. There's a small percentage of people that cannot, right? You can fold forward into a forward fold. As you fold forward into a forward bend, we're going to bring the hands on the floor. So come to the top of your mat, fold forward, bring the hands down, and then step back into a plank. And as you step back into a plank, come down on the knees and rotate the shoulders out. I'm not going to do a lot of these, but I'm going to do some. I'm just going to do some push-ups on the knees. And the most important part is really that you're integrating, not so much that it's smooth or that it looks great. Really, it's just getting the integration, which then you can start to do a higher volume if you wanted to. So I'm going to lower to the height of my elbows. Now you could come all the way down and then come back up. So push straight back up, lower to the height of the elbows or lower. Bring yourself up. And then come back up into a plank. And you'll just notice like bent arm positions will support straight arm strength better. Go back up into a down dog. You can pedal the legs out. Think that I'm pulling your arms forward in space. Think that I'm pulling your hips back in space. And then what you'll do is come forward into a plank and then come down onto the elbows again, come down on the forearms. So you're in a plank on the forearms. Now if you prefer Sphinx, you can certainly do that. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring your hips down. And then when you bring your hips down, what we'll do is we're going to take your feet, if we can, off the floor. So when you take the feet up, see if the angle that you're bringing your legs up is too much pressure for the back. It might, initially, just here might be the starting point, right? But as you take the legs closer to the body, imagine you're in Supta Virasana, right? That's on your back, both knees are bent, you're sitting in between your feet. Really, this is the same type of position. So they really help one another in terms of, but that's a pretty heavy pose, right? Over time, something you can work up to if you're not doing it already. Look over the right shoulder, see the feet. Look over the left shoulder, see the feet. And then look forward and then bring your hips down. And then just bring yourself all the way down. As you bring yourself all the way down, take the arms up off the floor. Make the hands into fists. Couple deep breaths here. Bring the arms down. Take them up again. Arms up. Broad shoulders, broad upper back. Bring the arms down. Come back up into Sphinx pose. And then in Sphinx, take your right elbow off the floor. Slide your left arm underneath your right. And then take your right arm over your left arm. So what's more difficult for most people is twisting. So this type of position of the arms. So my arms are braided. You might be on your side doing this, right? Which is still very good. But as I get the arms to be more wrapped up like this, it's the outsides of the shoulders that are getting more exposed. Come back up into Sphinx pose and then take the left elbow off the floor, slide the right arm underneath the left arm, take the left arm over the right, and then as you wrap the arms, I like to lift the head over the shoulder, backs of the shoulders are getting more exposed. Deep breathing. Right? The scapula should move pretty freely, and it sometimes does not. It's tight, it's weak. We're mobilizing it by flexibility, right? It's all passive stretching. And then come back up into Sphinx pose and just see that maybe a low level is way better than coming up, right? But you could come down with the hands, curl up into a low cobra or possibly a high cobra. Push through the hands, broaden your back, bring yourself forward, bring yourself down. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes. Try to get the ribs away from the floor. Push yourself up to plank and go back up into a down dog. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to press through the hands, and if I can, bring your right hand under your back. So you're just in a down dog with your left hand. And then bring your right hand down and bring your left arm back behind you. So it should, over time, get pretty even. And I'm doing this so that you can see that maybe you're using one hand or arm more than the other. But eventually we can twist from these positions. So walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat. Walk the hands back towards the feet. Walk the hands to the top of the mat. Walk the feet behind the hands. And then step the left foot back into a lunge. So the left foot is back. And then take the right arm up to the ceiling. Open hand or closed. And then bring the right hand down, bring the back knee down the floor. And with the back knee down, you can move the weight around, adjust the hips. Get the hands over to the left side. As you take the hands over the left, look high over the left shoulder. Bring the hands to the inside, and you can get lower, you can get your elbows down, but Tight hamstrings or hips, probably up for a while. Over time you can certainly get lower. Again, you want the poses should be really, you should really feel the benefits. And if you're not, and it's been a while, right, maybe change the way that you're doing your poses. Right, come up onto your hands and sit back with your hips just to expose the hamstrings a little bit. Then point through the right foot and flex it. And point it and flex it. Now, if I'm up on a block, way easier on the back, right? I'm going to go back into bending the knee, right, back into a lunge, and then take the back knee up off the floor and take the right arm up to the ceiling. So again, you want your hips to be engaged in supporting your weight. Bring your right hand down and then move your left foot in a little bit closer and then have your right leg straight. So with your right leg straight, I'm going to take the front of my foot up off the floor if I can, just for a couple seconds. I'm going to roll onto the heel and then go back down and then lifting. You know, calf muscle has a lot to do with even your hips. Bring your right foot down, then step your left foot forward. Step the right foot back into a lunge. Right foot is back. I like connecting armpit and knee together when I'm lunging. Take the left arm up to the ceiling so the left arm is high. You can squeeze into the middle. You can twist your body to the left. And then bring your left hand down and then bring your right knee down. Walk your hands over to your right side. Look high over the right shoulder. Lift the head. And I do this, you know, the more you can mobilize the neck, everything else will move better from that. Take the hands back into the middle. You can get lower, getting your elbows to blocks. And, you know, it might be you coming down for a moment and then coming up. I really believe in that. Like that's, again, some people it's just so hard to get down. So you don't have to be down the whole time. Come up onto the hands. When you come up onto the hands, bring the left hand on the outside of the left foot and sit the hips back. You can point through the foot. You can flex it. You know, moving the leg in and out. You can feel the connection in the hip and the hamstrings. Again, if I'm up high, when you're in something like this, you're pushing the heel down or you're lifting the leg up. You know, play around with both of those. And then go back to bending the knee into a lunge and then take the left arm up to the ceiling again. Again, just to move you and get you feeling better within your body. Bring your left hand down and then step the right foot in a little bit closer and then have the left leg straight. Now I'm lifting the front of my foot up off the floor so it's more calf muscle, gastrocnemius, and then I'm dragging the heel back, right? Now bring the foot down, rock back. Different for those of you that have tighter hamstrings, bend the knee. That's so good. You know, that's a great way of doing it. So think that you're pulling the leg to the face, and that's what will get you more forward and down. So it's like when we were pulling the knee into the chest. Bend the left knee, and then step the right foot forward. So separate the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders, grab the elbows, bend the knees. You can sit into a squat if you can. So I'm just going to check the time. As you're in a squat, and I loosely say this, you should be doing squatting, again, if it does not hurt you, collectively for 3 to 5 minutes a day. Start with that, and you'll really see a big difference in the way that you move. You want the pelvis to be level or possibly a posterior tilt. Again, it depends on a person. If you you have an anterior tilt, you really do want the posterior dropping at the tailbone, so you're not rounding your back anymore. And those of you that overextend, something more level or neutral. So bring your hands back behind you and come down into a seated position. So in a seated position, just cross the ankles, cross the shins. Take the left hand to the left, reach the right hand to the right. Lean forward, right, initially. Bring it into the middle, lean back, right, find the best angle. Take the right hand behind the head, that's good for you, and lean back with the head. Get the head to move back in space. As you're turning your chest to the right, these kind of like when we were doing the side angle at the wall, pick your moments to use more effort. Take the right arm up to the right, bring yourself up, recross the legs, take the right hand to the right, take the left hand to the left. May be better off sitting higher. I've said this before, if I'm up higher, it's actually more advanced to get lower. There's more range. You could be leaning forward, you could be leaning back. Right? This is an area that gets really chronically tight for most people. So you want to stretch it out, at least a few times a week. Take the left hand behind the head, lift the chin, lift the chest, turning the upper body towards the left elbow. Take 2 deep breaths here. And then take the left arm up and bring yourself back up. And have your knees bent. So the knees are bent. And with the knees bent, just do a bit of cat-cowing, nothing crazy, but just lift through the spine. And then just let the chest kind of depress down. The head can drop too, right? Lifting through the upper back, broadening the shoulders. Right? See what doesn't move, and that's what you want to be moving. Bring the head down. Just going to do one last time. And then lift the chin, lift the chest, broaden the shoulders. So this is really subtle, but I find very, very beneficial. Like spinal waves, and that's something that I'll do at some point, are very good for the spine. Push to the feet. I did the cat-cows so that some of you can't lift up. Just keep doing the cat-cows. If you can, lift the hips up off the floor. Broad shoulders, broad upper back. I didn't do a side plank today, but this is really what I'm getting people to eventually do, so that you have good strength and stability in the shoulder. So I'm bringing the weight forward for a moment, right, to stretch out the front of my shoulders, and then I'm taking it back, right? I'm bringing it forward, right? And the leverage is really what you'll need, and then also some strength work in the shoulders to take the arms up higher, right? For an interlace forward bend position. Right? Lift the hips one last time. Take the head back in space. Get your glutes involved. Try to lift more from your lower back. And then bring the head forward and bring the hips down. And then with the hips down, take the legs to as wide as the shoulders. Take the knees over to the right side. And with the knees over to the right, try to get more weight in the left hip. Just a little bit more weight. It's internal rotation that you might really need more. Most yoga, not that it's bad, it's all external rotation. And if you have a dance background, you'll need more internal rotation. So I could use my hands on the floor to come forward. I'm going to use a block. So I'm going to come forward however much I need to. If I'm doing a yoga ad or something like that, people want me down, right? They want to see that. So you could certainly get lower, but you might actually want to be somewhat down rather than all the way down. So I'm coming down, but when I'm coming down, I'm trying to squeeze the leg in. So when we did the side lying position in the very beginning and we were lifting the leg up off the floor, this is what you're using here. Bring yourself up. I'm just going to do one more. So what I'm talking about is I'm trying to lift my leg, not here, but I'm just as an example, I'm lifting the leg up when I'm forward. So you can bring yourself forward, you can bring yourself down, and not that up off the floor is better. You'd use your hand to do that if you were wanting to understand that. But it's just more of an action, and then you get a better stretch into the hip. And then you can bring yourself up, take the knees up, take the knees to the left side, and then as your knees are to the left, you can sit into the right side. And I've said this before, fill up some books in a backpack. A little bit of external weight is what you'll need to go further, whether it be forward bending, back bending, twisting. You really need some form of weight. Could be the help of another person, right, of course. But to go further just on your own really it's hard to do. Come forward, and that's why I'm not using my hands is that there's extra weight in the hip and it forces me to be more stable. So I'm keeping my back erect as best that I can. And then you can bring yourself up. And then one more time, I'm going to come forward. You know, so I'm trying to lift my upper body higher than the block. You know, that's giving me a reference. And then maybe I'm down lower, right? Maybe lower is better. Bring yourself up. And then bring your knees up and take your feet into a wide position, or knees into a wide position. And then bring the right hand on the right thigh and resist the pressure. So resisting the pressure in your hand, lift the thigh up into the hand. And then release that. And then bring the left hand into the left thigh. So lifting the leg up into the hand. And then release that, and then push the knees wider apart rather than just down. And down has its place too, right? So, but I'm pushing the legs apart, and not that the hips have to come forward towards the feet, but they can, and that's more exposure into the pelvis more for yourself. So bring your legs back up, have your left leg bent, and take your right foot outside your left hip. And if you can, step the left foot over the right knee and wrap the right arm around the left shin. Now see how low I am? Really great for your back and your shoulders. And also to be a really obvious stretch through the hip. So maybe you're not so low, but over time you can get lower. Again, not that lower is better, it's just as you get more flexible in your hips, lower can be better, and for you, right? You could support the head creatively. Right, I could use my hand to support the head. If I'm up higher, I'm going to rest my head on my knee where it's comfortable. So take 3 deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. So if you do a lot of cycling or riding your bike, this gets really, really tight. Again, you have a dance background. This is really strong, or martial arts background. This is really strong, but it gets very tight. So bring yourself up, we'll twist. I'm going to connect my right armpit into my left knee. My left arm is back behind me. I'm elevating the upper body up. Really a classic position, but a very good twist. You can lift the chest, you can broaden the shoulders, and then you can turn forward, you can release the arm and the leg. Have the left foot outside the right hip, and step the right foot over the left knee. Now take the left arm around the right shin, and then you're focusing more on the rotators of the hip. And again, you could get creative in supporting the head. Right arm is relaxed wherever you need it to be, but I like a really tight hold of this so that I'm getting more exposure into my back. That's if you have the flexibility. And then you could, as you're in this, like I said about going further, maybe you're in it for just a couple seconds, you come out and you go back into it. You don't want to just, I see people and they get frustrated, rightfully so, but you want to go back into it. You don't want to just, because it unfortunately would only get more difficult, You put the time in, yoga gets pretty easy at some point. So you can bring yourself up. You could bring your left armpit into your right knee. You could take your right arm back behind you. Lift yourself up as you inhale and twisting to the right, using the strength again of your abdomen, your rib cage, looking over the right shoulder. So take 2 deep breaths. And then you could turn forward, and then as you turn forward, just gonna check the time, and then once you're on your back, we're gonna lie back on your back, have a block. So if you do, because some of you had asked about, what do I do if my legs splay out when I do a Shavasana? So if you have a strap, make it short enough that it goes around the thighs. So before we do that, you'd place that around, before you do the Shavasana, you're going to do a supine twist. So just have the knees bent, And then just open to the left. Take the left hand over the right hand. Open to the left. And those of you that really struggle with twisting, work more on the supine twist. Take the knees to the left side. Take the right arm out to the right. Bring it over the left. And then take it out to the right. Now if you want to do a bridge, you can do bridge. Put the block underneath your hips. So if I am doing bridge or shavasana, like I mentioned about with the strap, I place the strap around my thighs, about the width of my hips, and then I'm gonna bend the knees and take the hips up and then onto the block, so the pelvis rests on the block. And then I could take the leg forward, and this will stop your legs from falling out, which can be not a problem for someone, but it can affect the back. And the nice thing, whether you're in shavasana with this, so if I'm in shavasana, my legs are forward, you'll feel a greater release in your hips and your legs. So that's the benefit of that. Those of you that have a sway in your back, have something underneath your knees, like a bolster or pillows, and that'll help give you some traction. Those of you that have a posterior tilt, put something into your lower back, like say you chronically have back pain, that's when you want something underneath your lower back. So again, if you took a picture of yourself and you're just like, hey, I have a sway back, I could give you some things to do. But rest, take a deep breaths into the body, let yourself relax into the floor, and then as you relax more, right, you can just kind of feel the alignment of the body is improving just from the structure of the floor. So when you don't have a lot of energy, knowing that being on your back in all these positions is an excellent thing to use, so that you can help yourself breathing. Because if your head is forward, and your head might be supported on something, but if your head is forward, it's very difficult to breathe, and obviously you'll get tired from that. And because you are in the comfort of your home, you could just stay like this. But let's say you're ready and you want to move again. You could move your fingers, you could move your toes, you could swallow a couple times, you could stretch your legs out, you could roll up or roll to one side, and then when you come up, you don't have to sit on a higher surface. I am, which I really promote in terms of, like, say, posture is really at the top of the list in terms of helping yourself. You get in the habit of sitting in all the classic positions on a higher surface, and most likely that's going to help you more. So turn the palms up, you can slide the hands back, get the shoulders to be engaged. Just kind of see how the weight sits. I bring more weight into my right hip than my left. So when I remember, I bring it into the left, my right side picks up more. You could bring your hands together if you'd like. It's just a prayer. I hope you had a great class. Thanks for tuning in. Share it with your friends if you can. I'd love to help more people. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow on Zoom. Go to my website to register, jonwittyoga.com. Thanks again. I love you. Namaste.